Good artists copy, great artists steal. You've likely heard this Picasso quote before, but I will repeat it as this is one of the greatest pieces of wisdom you can ever take with you as a creator. Whether you're a painter, a sculptor, a writer, a musician, a dancer, a chef, an engineer, or a game developer, the process of stealing ideas is incredibly fundamental to learning, growth, and creativity in generating your own ideas, as unintuitive as that might seem. I've made a lot of games. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've also stolen quite a lot from my peers and competition and generated many good ideas that others often steal, as they should. I want you to clone it till you own it. I'm a big fan of rhyming, though I don't have the best timing, but what I'm chiming is that the process of mimicking others' work and ideas, breaking them down, learning from them, and incorporating them into your well of style and technique is the best way to move forward as a game developer, or any creative. In fact, it's kind of the only way, even if you don't realize it. If we only looked inwards, iterating on our own work based on itself without an outside reference or goal to move towards, we'd just be copying the same sketch over and over. There is no original thought. If you think about it, it's impossible. No ideas come from nowhere. All thought is based on observations and other thoughts. What we tend to classify as creativity, particularly in children, is just novel combinations and remixes of pre-existing material. That's how the brain works on a biochemical level. The neurons in our brains only store information as relationships, heuristics, stereotypes, sets of sets. Everything comes from something else, is related to something else. We can only have the idea of a goddamn dinosaur laser fight in space with sharks by already understanding the concepts of dinosaurs, lasers, space, and sharks, and likely at least a subconscious understanding of the rule of cool. I frequently hear beginners starting in game development complain that everything they're taught or told to do is just making a game that already exists, it's copying, and that they want to make new games. New types of games, new genres, if they're very pompous and ambitious. The same thing happens in every field. Writers don't want to learn 3-act structure or the hero's journey because they think, oh no, I want to do new things. I don't want to follow the same formula everyone else is doing. And I get it. When you look at a wall of game dev tutorials that all explain how to make Flappy Bird or the same generic platformer game, it can be boring and monotonous. But there's wisdom to be learned from doing things the way experts have always been doing them. You don't know what you don't know. And the wisdom, knowledge, and experience that can be gained by copying what those before you have done before is invaluable. After you've had this experience and earned this wisdom, then you may and will find new ways to iterate on these experiences, but you won't get anywhere without following the path paved before you. Learn the rules like a pro, so you can break them like an artist. Another great Picasso quote. And the greatest way to learn is by doing. This is why we've challenged you all in this room to make a game every week. As I've said, and will continue to repeat ad nauseum, as good advice is annoying, creating a game every week will drastically boost your skill level, confidence, and portfolio in a shockingly short amount of time. But we've also crafted this schedule of game topics each week for you all here, a progressive list of genres for you to clone so that you may learn from those similar games before. Recreating Pong and Atari games may seem boring, but by going through this process, you'll learn so much about how these games are made, the game design decisions that define them, and the experience of wrestling with technical limitations or lack of know-how that shapes all the games we love. And by copying these games of the past, you'll have new ideas, novel combinations and remixes of old concepts that inspire you to make something new. This is basically how all games come about. Minecraft, the most successful indie game of all time, has been cloned to death. I'm sure you've all seen the many off-brand Minecraft clones over the years, which is to be expected when you've had this much success. But did you know Minecraft was a clone? Minecraft was heavily inspired by a much less successful game called Infiniminer. Angry Birds, similarly, was a pretty direct clone of an older Flash game called Crush the Castle. Apex Legends was pretty directly inspired by the success of Fortnite, which in turn was made into a battle royale because of PUBG, which, despite its creators' claims that PUBG invented the Battle Royale genre, PUBG was really just a ripoff of DayZ, which popularized the Battle Royale. And remember that DayZ was just a mod for Arma 2, which was inspired by a whole mess of books and predecessors. They were all just cloning each other, building off one another, seeing what someone else had done that had worked, and doing that, like I'm asking you to do. But note that Fortnite, the most successful of the bunch, with by far the most longevity, did something a little different. I would say that PUBG is pretty much a copy of DayZ. Good artists copy, but great artists steal. And that's what Fortnite did, because Fortnite was majorly inspired by not only PUBG, but by Minecraft. Fortnite mashed up and remixed these previous ideas to make something new. A unique, competitive, multiplayer shooter fighting to the last man standing, revolving less around shooting and more around building complex structures in real time. Stealing from Stephen McCraney's webcomic, The Art of Being an Artist, originally recommended to me by our good friend Rich, copying implies mindless reproduction by rote, whereas stealing implies intentionality, ambition, and ownership. It's not imitation with the goal of plagiarism. It's imitation with the goal of possession, incorporating the lessons and ideas into your toolkit to make something new with, from the skeletons of those prior. I would claim that this was integral to Undertale as well, another uber-successful indie darling that pushed the industry forward in many respects with its fresh ideas that have since been cloned, copied, and stolen endlessly. Undertale is a true old-school RPG. It had new ideas drawn from other sources, revitalizing turn-based RPG combat with the clever design of its bullet hell system. But the core of Undertale has always been Earthbound, or Mother. The creator of Undertale, Toby Fox, has always been a massive Earthbound fan, creating ROM hacks for the games as the precursor to Undertale. Earthbound/Mother was the primary influence of the core of Undertale, so you could very well argue that Undertale is an Earthbound clone, made unique with its remixing and combination of other ideas, as well as flawless execution, to make something incredibly special. But beyond individual games, this is how genres form. Metroidvania is obviously a portmanteau of its grandfather games, Metroid and Castlevania, which are both, funnily enough, already portmanteaus, Metroid forming from Metroid and Android, and Castlevania from Castle and Transylvania. The entire genre, which has spawned incredible games like Hollow Knight or Axiom Verge, are at their core clones of these original predecessors. Roguelikes are called roguelikes because they are like Rogue, this ASCII art game that I would be amazed if you had actually played. The legacy of Rogue clones and the mix and mashup of other ideas and genres gave us incredible new games like Spelunky, FTL, Crypt of the Necrodancer, Axiom Verge, Dicey Dungeons, The Binding of Isaac, and Slay the Spire. Even the common first-person shooter is built on a legacy of cloning. And I'm not just talking about how the entire game industry tried to copy Call of Duty for like 15 years, or Halo, though that's certainly true. But further back than that, at the start of the genre, first-person shooter, or FPS, is a pretty common name now, everyone is familiar with, but the genre had another older name. First-person shooters could also be just as aptly referred to as Doom clones. Everything came from a clone of something else. If you love a game, copy it. Remake it, break it apart, find what you love about it and what you don't. And in the process, you will make it your own. Good artists copy, great artists steal. 2, 3, 6 months from now, I cannot wait to see what you have stolen. Thank you.